Ladies, gentlemen, and oh boy, friends beyond the binary, welcome to me. I don't actually know what the stream is, and Phoebe. And I just realized that my hair looks absolutely ridiculous. I have lost all attempts to contain my hair have been completely destroyed. Hi, I'm Tristan from Step Back History, and Tristan Won't Shut Up. This is sort of a special stream time, but I normally stream on Mondays and Tuesdays. On Mondays from 12 to 2, I do the Monday Discourse with Mia Mulder. And on Tuesdays, I do Step Back Tonight, which is a show I do with me. And hopefully more guests. I go by he, him pronouns. You can go to stepbackhistory.com or tristanwon'tshutup.com to see my work. If you want to support my work, you can go to patreon.com/stepbackhistory, or if you're watching this on Twitch right now, you can go to, and you have Amazon Prime, you get one free Twitch Prime subscription every month. I recommend you use it because if you don't, Amazon just gets to keep your money. So always recommended to use that to help out independent creators. If it's me, I'm happy, but as long as you're using it, I'm happy. As for like work coming out, I am currently working on 2 videos simultaneously, lots of reading to do, a little bit of writing, so look forward to some stuff. I feel like this might be one of those months where there's going to be some content, but it's going to be like a couple weeks yet. Still early stages. As far as submitting questions for this and future streams, I'm going to put a link in the chat, which will link to places where you can ask some questions. If you tag it for Mexie, I have a list of questions already. If we get through them, which we might, then I'll go back into that and see if I can find some more. So if you have any questions, you can add it there. And what's the last thing I got on my list? Oh yeah. If this is your first time here in the stream, please make yourself known. We have a pretty cool community that will be happy to have you. Alrighty. And with that, let me see if we can get Mexie on the horn. Alright, let's do this. Alrighty. And... Hello.
I can't see you, but
I guess because my camera's being used on the stream.
Oh, okay.
Let me just straighten out your picture. And all right. Hello. Now the internet can see you.
Great. Maybe I'll watch you on the stream too, because I'm just looking at a blank screen.
It's all right. I've gone full mad scientist with the lack of haircuts. My hair has now breached all forms of containment, and it is just an absolute mess.
I want to see it.
Oh, gosh.
Okay, I'm going to look you up.
All right, yeah. Twitch.tv/stepbackhistory or my YouTube.
Oh, you're not on YouTube?
I'm on both.
You aren't? Oh, wow. Let's hope that my computer can... handle this. History. So how are you?
Not bad. Getting through everything fine. Spring is coming. It took a bit of a break, but it's coming soon. And how do you feel about being in not lockdown?
The same as I felt in the last not lockdown like I've just been in not lockdown for like a year, I guess.
Mm-hmm. If you want, something truly Orwellian is what has happened in Ontario with the word lockdown.
Yeah.
In like the word stuff. Oh man.
Yeah.
So for people in the chat and stuff who don't know, we're both living in Ontario, where our completely incompetent premier decided to open up the economy, open up everything again right when the like variant super bugs were starting to take off, and so it resulted in a third wave of cases that just exploded way faster than the other one. And then he's doing a new. They're finding new ways to describe closing things down. and now we're in like a color-coded white zone. I don't remember anymore.
I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me. Cause yeah, like big box retail is still open, but just reduced. I don't even know. I don't know how much is different from the last lockdown, to be honest, but to me it all went to shit like last September. I don't know why they opened everything up then and then let our second wave get so extremely intense, and then wait until basically Christmas to shut it down.
Yeah,
then
the second stay-at-home order started on Boxing Day, and then like a month later, they did some data with like cell phone tracking data, where they basically showed that like, oh, you can see that a lot of these cases were spread by people in like Toronto driving out to like Oakville and going to like malls to go Christmas shopping. And it's like, if you had just shut down like a week before, you could have stopped so many cases because people were just leaving there. Because he was doing like a region by region lockdown, and they were just like leaving if they were locked down to go somewhere else.
Yeah, of course they were. Of course they were.
Yeah.
But that's always how it was. But yeah, when in September, when they were like, we were doing so well, and then all of a sudden they just reopened the school, reopened literally everything. And then our second wave was just ridiculous. And then now, this third wave, and we don't have any vaccines. Like I was talking to people in the States, and they were kind of laughing because they were like, our healthcare system is so terrible, it's all privatized and whatnot, and yet all these countries that have much better universal healthcare seem to be so much slower on rolling out the vaccines. And I'm like, we don't have them.
Yeah.
We don't have them.
The reason being, the government used to have a vaccine manufacturing plant that we used for just these kinds of emergencies. And the Mulroney government privatized it. And instead of keeping the company that they sold it to just shut down the plant and moved to another country.
Oh my God, I didn't even know that. I didn't even know we had a plant. I honestly was just like, oh no, we're just sitting here waiting to get the shipments from the US. And they're like, no, obviously we're going to prioritize US people. So
I followed the whole story. So Trudeau, when trying to like make deals for vaccines, was like, let's make a deal with Europe and focus on European manufacturers, because an election might happen in America in November of 2020 that might result in something weird like shutting down all exports of vaccines or something.
Mm-hmm.
But then it turns out the European Union decided to do that, and they started shutting down exports on vaccines. And then we invested heavily in some Chinese company building a vaccine that didn't go anywhere. And so, that's why we are, last I checked, 62nd in the world on vaccinations per capita.
Oh, wow. Wonderful. Yeah. And then, but I keep hearing these weird stories. Like my mom called me and was like, oh, you should go just hang around the convention center or like bike by there or something, because she was saying that apparently they had a whole bunch of vaccines and not enough people, I guess, knew about them, or maybe like they had a bunch of cancellations, or people just didn't know that they had all of these. So they were just like walking up to people outside the convention center and being like, hey, do you want to get a vaccine? Like, come now, because we don't want to waste them. And I'm like, what is going on with our organization here? Because that just seems ridiculous.
Yeah, but, they did an initial rollout for the people over 80, and then they had it so that the phone system was really overbooked or really overused, and they couldn't figure out why people over 80 had trouble using the internet to book their appointments. Mm-hmm. And so people over only like after like a week or something, I think only like half of people over 80 signed up. So they're like, well, I guess that's everybody that they're going to do. So let's move on to the next round. And it's just like, oh boy. It's real fun. And then also Ford blamed Trudeau for not securing enough vaccines. And then it was like the next day, a story came out that he's got like hundreds of thousands of them just sitting in freezers for some reason. So it's been really good. But I just realized that we should probably start by telling people on the internet who you are and what you do.
Yeah, great. Hi, I'm Mexie. I do YouTube and podcasting on the internet. So I have a channel called Mexie, Mexie. And then I also have a second channel called Positive Leftist News, where I do monthly. Actually, well, Tristan edits all my videos, so he knows. But yeah, so I do a monthly positive news broadcast, I guess, and round up all the positive leftist news from the month on that channel. So check that out. It's actually PLN. But you should probably just Google or search positive leftist news, because if you search PLN, I don't think it comes up. But yeah, oh yeah, and then I have a podcast, which is The Vegan Vanguard. And on all of these platforms, well, I guess just Mexie and Vegan Vanguard, I do like political economic critiques and have guests on the podcast and things like that. And
it's a show you do with the good Marine from France.
yes, the good Marine from France. Although she's been quite busy lately, so I mostly just do interviews right now. But yeah.
Everybody, oh yeah, everyone's singing the praises of PLN in the chat right now.
Yeah,
the first question we got was, why is PLN so awesome?
Thanks, Glitch. That's awesome. Yeah, that's sweet. I'm watching it on YouTube, but there's a slight delay for me, so it's kind of awkward.
Yeah, there's two chats, but actually it'd be good to talk about where it came from, because you had like there's a whole arc if you watch your content near the end of 2019 on your, if you follow the whole Mexie cinematic universe, if you're following the podcast and the YouTube channel, there was like you got this like bug of like, we need to be positive and hopeful, and then it kind of resulted in this project.
Yeah, well, like there was a number of things, I guess, that went into the project. Yeah, one, I guess, was just realizing how much doomerism there was, and it was actually a fun thing for me to do as well, because I was similarly feeling like, oh god, and COVID was hitting and whatever. But yeah, it was actually because part of it was that I wanted to do something each month that would be uplifting, and I thought that it would be less work, because my video essays take me a really long time because I have so many jobs and chronic illness. So I thought like, oh, okay, well, this is just a fun thing I can do every month, and it's not going to be that much work, and then it'll give me like free up some time so that I don't have to I don't feel like I need to get a video essay out every month while I'm still like working other jobs and whatever. But it is actually kind of a lot of work. And you do most of it, so, well, not really, but I
do the last part, and honestly it's been really fun to do, and it has helped me increase my editing speed and skills, because I don't want to I don't want to invoice you for too much, so I'm always just like, I got this. But then I've gotten so efficient at editing that like it's gotten step back videos been done faster too, so it's like oh,
that's so awesome. I love that.
I spend a lot more time in Premiere now, and it's good.
That's awesome. Actually, my dad just told me, he was like, oh yeah, I just watched your Positive Leftist News, and those are edited so well. Like, those look so professional. And I'm like, yes! Oh, thank you.
You did it. Yeah. I won the dad vote.
Yes.
I guess so. Before the stream, as soon as you agreed to do the stream, I actually set up a thing for questions. So I'm going to be bouncing between that and the chat, because I don't want to get too far behind on what's going on in the chat. But sure. Yeah, there are no curfews in Ontario. Quebec is the one that did the curfews.
Yeah.
Because they got COVID. Like their first wave was way heavier than ours. They were like doing the poorest in the country at one point, and I don't exactly remember why. But
I know I recently looked up the stats on Canada in general, and I was kind of shocked to see that Quebec had so many more cases and deaths than Ontario, because I was like, how is that possible? I just figured we would be the leader, no question.
Yeah, but then again, like it was Alberta for a while too. Alberta was doing well per capita. Alberta was doing pretty poorly. Turns out,
yeah. But I mean overall.
Yeah,
that was shocking.
That's because Quebec had a really, really bad first wave. And it turns out that right-wing nationalists don't make good leaders during crises.
Yeah.
And since the prime minister, that's called, the premier of Quebec right now, I can't remember what his name is anymore, but he's from that weird new-ish political party, the Coalition Venue Québec, which is just like this. What if nationalism was right-wing? Has anyone thought about doing that? And it's like,
yeah. pretty popular.
Yeah, well, honestly, I lived in Quebec during the sort of gridlock between what's his name, freaking the liberal premier who was like, hey, let's just like hike tuition up a whole bunch, and then caused a whole protest movement, and then there was right after that, then there was like Pauline Marois with the PQ, and it was a whole shit show. I won't. What's it called? It's like I won't get into it because it was just like they were like, yeah, we're not going to raise tuition, and the way that we're going to do it is we're going to do big budget cuts, but only to the English universities. And it was like, okay, there's 3 of those in the province, so what are you going to do? Mm-hmm. You're just like, okay, so you're gonna keep tuitions low by cutting university costs, but only to McGill, Concordia, and Bishops. And it's like, okay, Bishops has 2,700 students. Like, good luck.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's so funny.
Okay, so one of the questions I got submitted was, some of these are like, they might be meme questions, or designed to torture me specifically. But the first one is trains or planes, which one is cooler? Which I'm...
Well, you sorry, were you going to answer?
Just back when I used to do React channel or React streams where people would send me content, they would just send me content of trains, just like, I don't know how people get like a kind of like visceral pleasure of just watching trains move. And so there are people who submitted tons of links of trains, and I was just like falling asleep, and so they'd torture me with trains.
Nice.
But I like trains. I mean, trains are obviously better. Airplanes are an environmental disaster at the moment.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. But yeah, I mean, I enjoy like the thought of trains, and like I enjoy. Like, it's just, I don't enjoy them. I like to get there, but I would have to say trains are cooler objectively because they just are, and they're not such an environmental catastrophe as you just said. So
I do. I like the idea of trains. I like having ridden on a train. That one time I got stuck 6 hours outside of Montreal in a snowstorm in a train. Kind of turned me off to it, but I'll still do it. I'll still take it. Via Rail's not good.
Yeah, I took a train, we did a few kind of like trips on trains like across Canada, and like, it was fine. It's just a lot.
It's true. The funnest time I ever had was I was visiting my parents for my birthday, which is at the end of November. And I took the train, and they were like, all right, we'll get you back on the train in Toronto. So you can get on the train in Toronto and go home. And so I didn't have very long to get on the train. But what we failed to calculate was that the weekend of my birthday in late November happened to be the Santa Claus parade. And so they had to drop me off like 3 blocks away from Union Station. And I had to like fight my way through the Santa Claus parade to get to the station.
Oh my God. That's horrifying.
Mm-hmm. It was extremely fun. Okay. More fun though, and I think I'd be interested to know what kind of thoughts you've had on it. This is Phoebe, by the way, for people in the chat. She's staring at me.
Did you tweet this out, by the way? I'm like, oh, should I be retweeting this?
I think I tweeted it out. I think I have a thing that tweets it out.
Okay.
So, were you? Because I know that you're a little bit more offline than me. Were you made privy to Big Boat Stuck?
Yes. I didn't really follow it because the past few weeks have been, honestly, I've just had my head down working so much. So I know that like something funny happened and I've seen memes, but I didn't really follow it to be quite honest.
Okay. I think you'll find it interesting in multiple ways, and I'd be interested to know what your take, how you feel about it. So, you know how the world's trade is run by these other environmental disasters, these massive shipping freighters that have like they're, 700 meters long or whatever, and have like just tons and tons of shipping containers on them, like, these kinds of things, right? Mm-hmm. So one of them was going through the Suez Canal, and it got caught in a big cross breeze or something like that, and it tilted it so that it accidentally got stuck, and it blocked the Suez Canal for the better part of a week.
Mm-hmm.
And they estimated, because you know how much traffic goes through there, it was costing on
Yeah.
to the tune of $10 billion of lost profits every day, just because a
Wow.
boat got stuck.
How does that even happen? Like a boat gets stuck. That's so funny.
And so someone said, do you think the world economy will be able to handle the consequences of the pandemic and a big boat getting stuck?
I mean, no, but it honestly, like the economy just it bounces back after things that I never thought it would, you know? Like capitalism is very good at turning all these crises into somehow new avenues for profit and accumulation, but fuck. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I know that wasn't it someone at the World Bank like pretty high up people in finance are saying that they don't even think that capitalism is gonna last the next couple of decades, and I'm like, all right, but I don't know, we'll see.
Yes. It's interesting how capitalism is at one time like this infinitely adaptable thing, but also that 10% of the capitalist economy can get shut down by a big boat getting stuck in
Yeah,
like one
absolutely.
place.
Oh yeah, no, it's definitely prone to crisis and just it just breaks down at any kind of just minor kind of issue. The whole like all huge supply chains just break down at the most minute of issue. So it's very vulnerable, but I don't know. It just it just needs to break. It just doesn't seem to break. I really thought that like this whole COVID thing. Honestly, I guess I was pretty naive at the start of it, but when it first started, I was really just like, oh, like how are they going to get out of this? You know, like they're gonna have to provide people basic income. They're gonna have to provide people with all of this stuff that of course they just didn't. Um, and they're just carrying on. So
It's actually kind of I was actually kind of blown away by that. I was like, how, like there are people now who have just flat out not been getting an income for ages.
right.
And I don't, and like, how are we not tearing everything apart over this is a good
Yeah,
question.
yeah. I'm like, where are the riots? Like, this is just so wild. But I don't know. And then I never, like, I kept seeing in the news, I didn't really follow up on this, but I kept seeing in the news that there were millions and millions of Americans that were slated to be homeless by January 1st. I mean, I guess that didn't happen, or
In the
what,
U.S.,
like,
what
what's
happens
the
is
status of that?
they have an eviction moratorium that's always just on the verge of expiring, and they always renew it at like the last second.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I'm like, what happened with that?
And
So,
we got Thoughtlime in the chat asking, "Have you seen the COVID pop-up shop?" I have not. I don't know what this
no.
is.
Yeah, what is that? Hey, Matt.
Hello. Uh, okay. Yeah. So it was interesting. I want to hear more about this thing you just said about um, the economic planners of the non-planned economy, even saying that capitalism has an expiry date in the not too distant future.
Well, I mean, yeah, I wish I could remember who said that, but I remember hearing that fairly recently and then being like, huh, okay. I think it was someone like associated with the World Bank or something like that, some economist. And I don't know. I mean, you keep sending me things about how the capitalists are, realizing that well, they called peak oil basically peak oil consumption, but they think that our consumption of oil has peaked and that we're on the downward slope there. Um, and yeah, I don't know. I think in general, a lot of capitalists are kind of starting to see the writing on the wall, but I don't think they're going to do, I think they're still going to try to hold on as much as possible. Um, but it's just interesting to see like more, um, yeah, more capitalists, more people at the helm of the system, kind of realizing that maybe their days are numbered.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, what I send along to you is because I have one friend whose like hobby interest is watching the transition off of oil by watching the like or like by following like the business periodicals of people who work in the energy industry, like actual like the oil people, and talking about their like their preparations for moving off of things, and how every time, like for example, like a lot of and somehow he's a lot more optimistic than I am on a lot of things, because he's seeing like stuff about how, you know, how like if you ask like Shell, when are they going to stop producing oil, and they'll be like 2080 or something, like impossible, where we'd be dead, long dead if that's the case. But then they're like, well, actually that's just like a thing, a slideshow they put together for the investors, and it's actually like, no, they're seriously concerned about this. They're trying to find out how they're going to be a company in a few decades if they can't make oil. And that's like, oh, interesting.
Yeah, damn. In the chat, someone said it was Janet Yellen who said that. Cool. Who said what I said before? Yeah.
There is something in that like world of I don't know what, like there's this world of like, I'm trying to think what that thing is, that Switzerland meeting they have every year, Davos people who are like peak neoliberals, have like a heavy affiliation with like the European Union, and like they're the people who have little globes on their names and Twitter and stuff, and it's like this, they're more aware of the bad things, and that's why they're now trying to sell like, we're going to move from shareholder capitalism to stakeholder capitalism. Solved it.
Meaning what? Meaning what?
Yeah, good question. Okay, so I found the COVID pop-up shop. It's actually a store called COVID Basics. I'll send you a link in the chat, or in the Discord chat. But it is an actual store called COVID Basics that sells looks like designer masks and like COVID novelty shirts. And so talking about like capitalism's infinite ability to find a way to create a crisis and then capitalize on it. Here's one.
This is so sad. Oh god, yeah, that's really funny. Like, who wants to buy it? Like, I guess, I don't know, I guess in 20 years we might look back and be like, oh, like what a hilarious time, look at my, you know, funny COVID joke t-shirts or whatever. But honestly, I don't know, I don't think so. I feel like we're just gonna get more and more, maybe this is going against my whole PLN ethos, but yeah, I feel like this kind of stuff is going to be just more common going forward. So I don't know. Maybe maybe there's a lot of money to be made in these pop-up shops going forward. Maybe I should invest in some franchise.
That's how they get you. I can see like I have a theory. Don't know how popular it is, but I have a theory that a decade from now we're almost going to have forgotten that COVID happened. Like it's like,
oh really?
Well, so I think about the flu that happened in 1918 and 1919, right? Uh-huh. And that one was way worse. Like, there was a point where, like, there was an article, I think, from 1918 where a newspaper article where a police officer shot somebody for not wearing a mask. Wow. So, like, just to, like, show, like, yeah, the Spanish flu was, or I'm trying to remember what it was called, what they want to call it now. I just remember it was Spanish. But anyways, it went out of, like, the thing about the flu is that nobody really wrote too much about it in, like, history books and such until the swine flu of 2009. And then they kind of, like, collectively remembered this flu. And then it's like, during World War One, a flu happened that killed more people than World War One in, like, a period of, like, 1 year. How is it that is like a history footnote, while like World War One, a less deadly event happening at the same time is the one that we're remembering? And it's like something, and I have this whole thing about how spectacle and like spectacular events with memorable singular moments are things that we remember much easier than slow burn disasters that are just, life was really boring for a year. Like, you can already kind of feel that during this year we like lost perspective of time. We have like no, it feels like it took forever, and also that went by really fast all at the same time. And
Yeah, that's very true.
and so I think that we remember things with like these events, and that since there wasn't really like a COVID event, we're just gonna kind of it's gonna slip under our memory, and like 10 years from now we'll be like, oh yeah, I remember that. That was a wacky ass year we had.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, but even like something like, we haven't forgotten SARS. I mean, I guess we kind of did. I guess we don't, we didn't talk about it until now, right? I guess we don't talk about the last pandemic until the next pandemic is upon us. I don't know, but this is so like if you're a student right now, like if you're starting college and your first year of college had to be all online and you had to wear masks. I don't know, like how do you forget that, Maybe we do. I don't know.
It's true. I just think that like we often remember things because when they didn't or when they happen instead of when they don't happen. And so like thinking like I didn't get to go to prom, like maybe that stuff will be more interesting, but I don't know. It's something I'll be interested to follow up on over time.
Yeah. Well, I guess again, like I guess I just think that even once we get out of this pandemic, I think it's going to be less. Like I definitely think that like more are going to be upon us, either coming out of animal agriculture or out of the thawing ice in the Arctic.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe we will forget. I don't know. I just don't see how we could forget this. Like it really has shut down everything for like a full year, but I don't know. Maybe you're right. It is kind of this slow burn thing.
I think it's like more in the fullness of time. Like it would be silly to say that we're going to forget about it by next year. But like if you were to take both of us when we're
20 years.
Yeah, in 20 years, you look at both of us and you'll ask, which do you remember more? The COVID pandemic or 9/11? You're going to think 9/11 a lot more because it had that moment, and you like people have flashbulb memories of it and stuff like that. So
yeah,
it's sort of that thing.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah.
Okay.
Although even that, it's like, I have memories of 9/11. I have like, yeah, I do kind of have like the flashbulb memory. Like I know like where I was and like what was happening and like the tenor of everything. But even that, like that was so fucking long ago.
Yeah. I have such detailed memories of something so long ago, which makes me think that they're almost definitely not real. But because that's how memories are. But like, yeah, I remember all of the like 8th grade stuff about 9/11 because that's the grade I was in.
Yeah, I was in grade 9 or like somewhere after grade 9 or no, yeah.
High school.
No, I guess it was grade 10 then. Yeah. Damn. Yeah.
I guess someone said, you mean stop thinking about rather than actually forgetting. Yeah. And I do think, yeah. And then when people go to write books about the past, more people are going to write books around 9/11 than they are going to write about the pandemic.
Yeah. Although I don't know, like I guess we'll see, right? I just find it really interesting, like, like Richard Wolff was saying that this is the worst recession that we have dealt with, since the Great Depression and whatnot. And I just don't, it's true. Like, I don't see a lot of coverage on that. It's kind of just being swept under the rug. So, yeah, I mean, I can see what you mean, that maybe we just, it won't be top of mind. Like, it won't be something that we really are talking a lot about, as opposed to these other kind of, flashpoints or whatever. These kind of really impactful and fantastical events. Because everyone remembers like war and stuff like that, right? Like everyone remembers that kind of stuff, or talks about it, or it feels more relevant. But I don't know. I guess given that this is one of the worst recessions, maybe going forward, because that's what some of the people were saying. Like I was saying, the capitalists who were saying that we've reached peak oil. maybe going forward, this event will actually shape more than we realize in our future economy and like the future of the way things work, the future of the way people work, and travel and things like that. So maybe it will be, maybe we will remember it, or maybe it will be top of mind because it will actually impact the way that we live more than we realize. Um, or maybe not. Maybe we'll just go back to the same shit we were doing and, you know, destroying the earth and going back to business as usual. But
I
I
can
don't
see a
know.
little bit of that though, because like for example, there was this survey that showed about, I think about 45% of people who move to work from home, for example, have expressed a desire to keep things this way afterwards.
Yeah. Hmm.
And about a third of companies have decided that they're going to maintain it. And an additional third said that they're going to have some sort of hybrid model.
Yeah.
So that change of work, because like just even like the idea, like thinking about gigatons being taken out of the atmosphere, think about how much like all of that commuting getting removed. And another thing that I think was interesting after reading, I read years ago, Bill McKibben's book Earth with two A's.
I haven't read that.
It was one that basically was like, if we conceded that we've already done the irreparable damage, how do we adapt to living on a less habitable Earth, basically.
Mm.
But one of the things was life during the 2020 lockdown without like it was almost like a preview of what if we lived sustainably, what life might be like
Mm.
much more local, much more work from home, and much
Hmm.
less traveling and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Like I actually think that there could be a lot of really big reverberations. Like even with the working at home stuff, that means that a lot of people, you know, and especially like a lot of young people, millennials and younger, are moving out into much smaller communities. I mean, you just moved.
Yeah.
So like I feel like there could be this kind of exodus from the big cities because we can't afford to live here anymore, and if we're all working remotely anyway, it could actually change like the spatialities of how we live, and then that could influence how we're able to organize, and what like our communities might look like or whatever. Like I don't know, I think a lot of things could come out of this. And in terms of air travel, which is so environmentally damaging, as we just said, um, I don't know if this is true, but I had heard also that in the you know, after this crisis, it's going to be extremely expensive, to travel anywhere via air, because I can't remember the reasoning on that. Um, Maybe that you know, the air travel companies are going to be shutting down, or they have to get rid of their stuff so that when we do travel, it's going to be less people are able to travel, so the prices are going to be astronomical. I don't know, but I do think that even if travel is still the same price, people might think twice about it, because we've you know, we've been living differently for a little bit, and maybe travel will be something that you do more like locally, like you just go for like a weekend, or you go around your own province or country or whatever via train, and not necessarily flying overseas. I don't know. um but yeah, that's the only way that I could see us still talking about it, and it being super relevant, is if it has all these kind of reverberations in the way that we're living, which I do think is definitely possible.
Yeah. There's actually a really great when you're first of all when you were talking about the space change. First of all, how do I know you're a geographer? There you go. But the second thing was there's actually this article about the sort of class differences of those things, and how the new there's this new like dystopia, or I don't know, this is the way that they wrote about it, but the new vision of like the not too distant future where those who could afford to moved out of the cities, and those
Mm,
that couldn't have afforded to because either their work does not have a remote aspect to it or whatever, are living now in these like emptied out cities in the like shadow of skyscrapers that are no longer, like nobody can afford to live in them and there's no purpose for them anymore. And so it's just like these empty
yeah.
skyscrapers and then people living in rundown apartments, and like that the cities become the place where the working class live in sort of like the shell of what used to be these like vibrant metropolis things. It's like,
True.
God damn, that's some sci-fi shit right there.
Yeah, that is some sci-fi shit. Yeah, I guess like, essential workers or whatever that couldn't necessarily move. But then if I still think the spatialities would change though eventually, because if more people are moving out, then there would need to be like, the only reason why all the jobs are in the city right now is because everyone's there, right? So it's like, okay, well, there's this high population that needs to go to all these stores or whatever, but if they were elsewhere, then I don't know. But yeah, I'm not necessarily saying is going to be a good thing. I mean, it could pose a lot of challenges for organizing, but it's something that I think we'll definitely have to be thinking about. That's something that I wanted to actually ask Prof. Wolf about, but I didn't have time, I don't think. But yeah, just what's it going to do if people are working remotely and we have like an exodus from the city? Like, what does that do for our organizing and like our movements and stuff like that? Yeah.
Although I will say another like side thing about the pandemic is we've been spending a lot more time invested in local stuff. Like, I don't think I've followed local politics and local news closer than during this pandemic.
That's true.
which is probably, good use of my time more than like following whatever the US is up to at any given moment.
Yeah, this is true. So yeah, that is one good thing that we can carry forward.
I am curious though about the physical infrastructure, like what if we make these kind of changes, what happens with these, these giant skyscraper metropolises that we've built that now don't have much of a purpose because having a HQ for your unit shipping office doesn't matter anymore.
Well, like, I don't know. Yeah, I think that there could be like there's probably going to be like a double movement, like maybe people in the short term, because right now it's just, it's pretty impossible to afford housing in the inner city. And so if you don't have to be here and you're a young person, I can see people leaving for that. And that might kind of like shake up, I guess, the spatialities of capitalism. But in the long term, I don't know, because someone had brought up Detroit and like obviously what happened there was absolutely devastating. But I know a lot of people who are there and who are organizers, and like there's just so much amazing community organizing that's going on in that city. And like, people are I guess making use of abandoned spaces and reclaiming them and things like that. So I think that probably eventually people would kind of come back and hopefully like reclaim the spaces, because we could do a lot of like really cool vertical farming and like turn it into kind of like a like a solar punk kind of a future. But I guess it's hard to really make any predictions or whatever. But
it's funny. I was talking to Kelly because Kelly was like, "What do vertical farms even look like?" Because I'm like imagining this like white room with things, and I'm like, they're actually kind of dark and purple.
Well, some of them, yeah. I don't know. I've seen some cool ones that are kind of like aeroponic and things like that, or just maybe not like vertical gardens, but kind of like greenhouses. But you kind of turn these kind of skyscrapers into kind of more kind of greenhousey places. But yeah, the ones that are just all indoors with those lamps are kind of dark and creepy. Also, I'm like, I don't know how much energy goes into that. Someone just said very energy intensive. Yeah, so I wouldn't necessarily say that, but I have seen kind of these like vertical, they're almost like greenhouses, and then what is grown inside them is grown using different kind of things, where you don't really need soil, and you need very minimal water or things like that.
So one where you have like the fish living with them.
That's what is that, hydroponics? I don't know about that, but anyway, I don't know. I feel like there could be innovative ways that we could reclaim the city and hopefully not have it be too energy intensive. But I have actually no idea.
The vertical farming idea is pretty. I mean, that'd be really good, especially for the like skyrocketing food prices that happened during the pandemic. That would be like a place for people to move into if people have money to invest. The dark and purple thing is just because they found out that chloroplasts absorb energy or light more efficiently in that spectrum, so they just make LEDs that are in that color spectrum, and that's why they look that way.
Oh, that's cool. But yeah, I've seen some of them and I'm like, that must be energy intensive. Because you have to pump in all of that energy for the lights instead of just using the sun. So
There is that. The LEDs are pretty efficient technology, but yeah, still
yeah.
does use. I think that you'd probably be using more electricity maintaining the temperature and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting field, and yeah, it's the heart of the solar punk future. So I'm pretty
Yeah.
excited to see what if we can have more vertical farms, good.
Yeah.
Okay, the next thing we got here. Someone just like if the last year is sort of a glimpse of what COVID's been like, then does that also include the social isolation? The answer is no. Just imagine not traveling and not driving to work all the time. That's what I mean by it.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't have to like hide from each other and not, be in the same room with each other or hug each other or whatever. Yeah, just differences in how we work and how we travel and how we live. I don't
And
know.
and then with that, I think that like yeah, a lot you get used to it. We haven't socially adapted yet, but like means you'll probably know your neighbors better and like you'll be more
Exactly.
locally involved in that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Like that's one thing that COVID is sparking all these kind of like tenants unions forming and different kinds of associations. So yeah, I think there's an opportunity to kind of like relocalize in a way that we haven't ever done before. Um and yeah, it's just I don't know, it's just interesting. Like talking about like, changing material conditions. We don't know exactly what's going to happen, but definitely I can see a lot of changes coming from this that I don't know could present their own challenges, but could also be pretty cool for organizing.
Yeah. It'll have to be a lot more like I think that in many ways, like especially like in big cities, like you can have. There was a whole thing I remember talking about how if you go to any city, you're gonna find at least two anarchist organizations, and they don't talk to each other. And you're gonna have to be a lot more like. There's gonna be a lot more like trying to organize with less like. Trying to think about how to say this. You're gonna have to get along with people who have not as good politics as you to organize neighborhoods. That's sort of like the skill, because like
Yeah.
if everyone's scattered out, then you have to like kind of take your allies where they are.
Yeah, exactly. But also for a lot of the stuff that you want to organize, it's like people don't have to have like perfectly formed political positions, right? Um yeah, like if the goal is like, okay, we need this tenants organization to stop us all by getting or stop us all from getting fucked over by the landlord, like we all have a shared goal and a purpose, and then through that they people can learn about landlords in general or capitalism in general, and kind of learn through praxis. Like it's like half the time our own tendencies or whatever are just not even going to matter. So that's actually a big plus, I think.
Yeah, everybody. Phil's my pet theory. Everybody is an anarcho-communist if you think locally enough. That's basically the answer.
Yeah, perhaps.
If you talk about it in like people just getting the stuff they need and wanting better lives for themselves, then and you
Yeah.
do it at a local enough level and you make it the goal tangible and
Hmm.
such. Okay, next we got here. So one of the recent things going through right now, I don't know if there's been a verdict, but the murder trial for George Floyd's in progress.
Hmm.
So if George Floyd's killer actually goes to jail, do you think that he'll get special treatment from like prison guards? Most American prison guards are people who'd rather be cops, so they'll probably be sympathetic to him.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, probably.
Yeah, probably.
It was a one sentence answer. Yes. Yes is the answer to that. Um, oh no, this is a more interesting one to bring up. Is it okay to dox bigots? One of the atheists I sometimes watch got his kid to record her science teacher spreading abstinence only crap and being homophobic and transphobic in sex ed. He complained to the school and somehow everyone found out, and now him and his kid are being harassed. He's refusing to name the teacher because he doesn't want her to be harassed. If it was me, I just would have. Is that bad?
I don't know. Yeah, it's like, well, yeah, if you're doing something that's extremely harmful in your job, I mean, because like a lot of like, anti-fascist action is, it's not necessarily doxing people, but it is like informing their employers and things like that, right? Because it's like, well, you're doing a poor job and it's being harmful to other people, so like definitely your employer should know. um but yeah, I don't know. What are your thoughts?
So I definitely like the Michael Brooks line of being kind to people and mean to systems. And
Yeah.
I definitely think that like doing so in the context of transforming or of like changing that situation specifically by taking the information and giving it to the appropriate people who might do something about it is a good idea. When it gets to like, I don't see the political praxis of this person's shitty, so everybody, let's just send them death threats and stuff. And it's like,
Oh God, no. Yeah, no. No, that's not helpful. Yeah, so I guess like yeah, like just giving it to literally everyone. I guess it depends on the person and like what has been done. Um, but yeah, it's like, well, the employer should know. But you just said that they did complain and then nothing was coming of it. They they complained to the school.
yeah, that's the thing is sometimes the systems are. He complained to the school and somehow everyone found out, and now him and his kid are being harassed.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well then, yeah, it's like, well, the teacher doesn't need to be harassed if like her employer already knows, I guess. But yeah, I don't know.
This is in the American South. Okay, I'm gathering things. Yeah, when you're dealing, then your fight is not so much the teacher, than with the like homophobic and transphobic, what's it called, institution that's there. I don't know, like I'm maybe this is me being like, I don't know, I just don't see the value in the like just destroying people's lives.
Yeah.
Like I'm not trying to I want to minimize and stop the damage that these kinds of people are doing, and I wish this person wasn't teaching. I don't know what way to fix that is with the sort of like unleash. Like a lot of times, psychologically, people double down when they feel like they're getting like mass piled on like that. If that makes sense. It's like, this isn't a way to fix anything. It's just going to make people feel better. And then the system doesn't, then all the energy gets channeled at this teacher and not at the institution that didn't do anything about her, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, that's exactly it. Because it's just like, well, like her employers should be the ones who are not like obviously harassed or whatever, but yeah, I mean, it should be exposed that they aren't doing anything about this teacher who is causing harm in the classroom, to all these students.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is I understand the desire, but I also just don't. I don't know. I'm trying to find a satisfying sentence to put together, and it's not working.
No, I know what you're saying, right? Definitely the institution should be, I don't, yeah, I mean, whatever. And this is why, like, when people are doing kind of like this kind of work, it's like, yeah, you approach it as an organization, and speak to people who would actually be able to do something, right? Because if you just put it publicly on the internet, then yeah, it's just going to be a lot of harassing that probably is not going to do anything good. So I don't know.
Not that I have any like desire to like really be friends with this teacher or anything like that. That's not me. I'm not a person who. We do need to protect people lacking in polity. Yes, I agree. I do.
Well, that's why like this should be absolutely taken to the employer to be like, this can't happen. You know what I mean? But I guess if the employer does nothing, then what do you do?
Yeah, and that's good question. I don't know. Like, I don't know what you like. Like, what do you want to do? Like, do you think that enough harassment of the teacher will make her quit, or make her like? I don't see what the benefit is. I guess I don't see how it protects people being victimized by this kind of rhetoric.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it would just have to be pressure for her not to be there, but
yeah, I mean, I guess if you want to make like, just make her with a face of like a, I don't know. I'm really trying to put together something, and my brain is not functioning the best right now. Wish if I had time to write stuff down.
No, it's okay. I mean, I don't know. I'm probably not the best person to speak on this. Like, I don't know. I can give my opinion, but.
But like doxing is like when you release like their address and like phone number and stuff, and it's like, I don't see what that would do. Their name, maybe if it's like something that's, I don't know. All right. Support. Okay, there's someone in the chat who's speaking a little bit to this. I'm not saying harassment. I'm saying support who we love instead of bashing who we hate. I mean, I like that too. That's definitely our vibe.
Yeah.
That's the positive leftist news vibe. All right. So let's see what we got. What we got next here. All right. So now that we've delved into an area of politics that we had no place being in, here's another one. Why are British socialists trying to recuperate Brexit? Speaking as British socialists ourselves. Sure, there's a socialist case against a neoliberal institution like the EU, and the referendum was a slight majority for leave. But the Brexit movement was clearly about conservative English nationalism, even if it did get some Labour support. That was built on misinformation.
Yeah, well, I always found it funny that there were people kind of, like leftist Brits who were trying to, I guess, reclaim Brexit by making that point about, well, the EU is a neoliberal institution. And I'm like, yeah, but economic nationalism under capitalism isn't a solution, right? Like the contradictions of capitalism led to neoliberalism as like spatial and temporal fixes for the contradictions of capitalism. So trying to just go back to like economic nationalism under capitalism, I don't see how that. I don't see the socialist case for that, but maybe I'm missing something.
Yeah, and also whenever you find yourself turning a corner and being like, hey, maybe we should make a red-brown alliance to fix this problem, you should instantly be like, maybe we don't. Maybe
not. Yeah.
This is this was called the Jimmy Dore conundrum, which is don't be friends with fascists. And even if you have, if you think that you can somehow twist something that they're doing to your benefit, you are the stooge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No. Absolutely. So. I don't know. I don't understand it. Maybe a British socialist who's trying to do this could explain this to us, but it never made sense to me.
So, like, as far as I can tell, though, that like in the British left, there was like there was definitely desire to leave the European Union to get out of an economic national, or to get out of like a thing. Again, as you said, yeah, it's just economic nationalism. It's just like trying to do I was say socialism's never been that great when it's been trying to create borders and shut things down. Socialism, when it gets that way, is bad.
Yeah.
It's like if your socialism isn't internationalist in some capacity, it's well, the big guy who did that was Joseph Stalin, and he was not exactly a favorite darling of leftist history.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, yeah. I'm sure a lot of people would be like, "Oh, well, yeah, you could start with like one country and whatever," and yeah, like maybe you can, but I don't know. I think in this capitalist world, just like even the things that people say that led to Stalin, right, was that um under pressure from the US and the wars and everything, like they just had to centralize to such a degree, and then eventually ended up kind of drifting away from the proletariat and whatnot. I just Yeah, I mean, in this world, that's definitely something that could happen. Although I know, like like people like Luna Oi and everything talk out a lot about places like Vietnam and different states who are, you know, um, I guess kind of took that revolutionary path, but then have kind of started their own paths towards socialism. Well, I guess they are. I don't know if they are socialist. I need to watch more of her videos.
I did an interview with American Johnson a little while back. Vietnam's like it was like I mean it was communist after the victory in Vietnam or in the war, but then like it's sort of like a lot of communist countries that did not have like a straight up collapse have like just had like a little taste of neoliberalism, and so they have like a weird politics where you have like it's almost the opposite of here, where you have like young people who are getting into pro-capitalism and like right-wing stuff, and then you have like a kind of like older generation of more like almost like it's like the conservative option. It's like the trying to resist changes to try and hang on to the old communist system or the old socialist system, and it's resulted in like
Right.
the sort of neoliberal creep of a lot of countries that were ostensibly socialist in like mid 20th century times.
Right. But then it's like I don't know if again, I'm not the person to speak on this, but I think I've heard Luna talk about how like a lot of what they have is still quite socialist, and that they're kind of in the socialism phase and working towards at some point like moving towards communism. So yeah.
To also point out about interesting stuff about the UK and about what the UK ends up being in the next few years, because now that Brexit has happened. So next month is the Scottish elections, which is going to be a big deal because the SNP is heavily favored to win, like they normally do, but now they're exclusively framing this election as a referendum on whether to do another referendum.
Okay.
And the idea is get out of the UK. What's it called? Abandon UK, embrace European Union again. And that'll be interesting because actually this is a question, and maybe we can get to this one because it's the next question. I'd be very interested to know what you take, and it's on a subject that both of us actually can talk about in some useful way.
Okay.
Which is because like while like given like the situation going on in Scotland and the talk of like breaking up the UK and everything like that, it's like okay, sure. Separatism has a lot of different flavors. Then it comes back to our own, although I feel like it's people think it's a lot closer outside than inside, but this one is an opinion on Quebecois nationalism and where French Canadians factor into the settler framework of Canada.
I mean, talking as though they are not settlers, is that the question?
Well, they do have sort of like a status that's like settled settlers, settler on top, colonization sandwich.
Yeah.
This is sort of similar to like Afrikaners in South Africa too, like layers of this sandwich thing. I don't know why I decided to go there, but
Yeah. Well, I mean, like in terms of like their separatism, I'm like, sure, like definitely go for that, you know. I have no qualms with that if that's what the majority of people actually want to do. But I feel like it's kind of like you know, I would definitely say that they are settlers and um yes, you know, I guess they were like marginalized under, you know, British rule, but yeah, someone just said settler is settler. And the thing is that like they became settlers when they took part in like the project of white supremacy here, right? Like they became, you know, like they participated. It's kind of like when Italians came, like my background is Italian, and like Irish people came and whatnot, and they were also discriminated and like not really brought into the fold of whiteness. But once they were, like, the way that you get brought into the fold of whiteness is basically just by dominating people who are not white, and colonizing the land and things like that. And so um, yeah, I would have a hard time saying that French Canadians did not get brought into that fold of whiteness and white supremacy and have participated in, you know, the colonization of the land and yeah, this like the suppression of Indigenous peoples all over that province. So yeah. So yeah, I guess I would have to rethink the thing about like the separatism then, because I'm like, well, because that would just be their own colonial project then, right? Because if they would separate from the rest of Canada, then they're basically like, now they are just the direct colonizers because they've got their own quote unquote state, which is still Indigenous land.
Yeah, and one of the things that Jacques Parizeau is so famous for stating, but you can go into more depth on this, is like the high watermark. Like the thing is about when everyone brings up Quebec separatism to me, who are not Canadians, is like, okay, we're like, it's not like Scotland. Like Scotland looks like it's invariably going in that direction, while like Quebec separatism like most definitely hit its high watermark in 1995, and it's been kind of going downhill ever since. It's very much like a thing that the boomers were into, and it's sort of been on the downslope ever since. But when the referendum in 1995 happened, you had ethnic French Canadians vote some like ungodly high number to leave. But then in the immigrant communities in like Montreal and stuff like that, you had something like a 90% vote to remain. And in the reserves, there was also a like extremely high, like 90% vote to remain. And what people don't know about like the province is that it's like it's got a huge amount of area that is still like predominantly lived in by Indigenous people, and the like part of it that's like French is like this corridor along the St. Lawrence River.
Yeah.
And then you go into like Chibougamau and like super far north Quebec, where like it's Indigenous people who work in hydroelectric and mining operations primarily. But yeah, you had like the immigrant communities and the Indigenous communities voting to stay, while the ethnic French Canadians were voting to leave, and it was like, oh boy.
Yeah, someone said Quebec separatism isn't a bad argument, but it can't come without decolonization. Yeah, exactly. Like that's what I like with the whole Wexit thing. I was actually really scared because like Indigenous people over there have already dealt with so much. So I'm like, if Wexit just separates, then yeah, it's just like, no, you can't do that without decolonizing, you know? So.
And if anything, Wexit was about doubling down on colonizing. Oh, God. Yeah. So like obviously I'm not the most like objective outside observer on this as someone who comes from like a 400-year-old French Canadian family that's like lived in the seigneurial system for centuries. So like it's like when I remember 1995, despite the fact that I was like 6 years old or whatever, because it was like, oh, is like most of my family going to be in another country tomorrow?
I remember that very clearly too. Yeah, I was just like, "What is happening?"
Mm-hmm.
It was like wild, wild times.
And there's all sorts of weird stuff to talk about, like about how Quebecois nationalism is sort of trying to build this narrative that, like, I like a lot of times when I think about Quebecois separatism and stuff like that, it's also this like claim of Quebec is the place where the French people are, and like ignores the fact that there's like French people all over this goddamn country who have lived there for centuries as well. Like, I think like one of my great grandparents was like Franco-Ontarian, and like Quebec hardly ever, like if they want to have that conservator status or whatever, where were you standing up when like Doug Ford was trying to like cut back on French education in like the Franco-Ontarian districts and stuff? Like we had, didn't they have like an MP like leave the party over the fact MPP left the Conservative Party over this like shitting on French education and.
I don't even remember that, but yeah, that sucks.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean like Acadia and everything. So
Oh yeah.
definitely not just Quebec.
Like the whole country has like French communities, even in like as far as like, and so to like in many ways like there is something like there is a linguistic discrimination in Canada against French people, I would say, of some kind.
Oh, for sure.
Like they make up like a good percentage of the Canadian population, and yet in all but 2 provinces, French education's reduced to like a tokenism for a few years, and is like in some places like having like a Quebec license plate, you can get your like car keyed and stuff like that if you're in the wrong province. And
oh my god,
if you have a Quebec license plate and you're in Alberta, you're likely to get your cars keyed and stuff like that. Like it's
really,
there's a lot of animosity against Quebec from Alberta, for reasons I'm not 100% understanding, except that it has to do with oil somehow.
Alberta needs to get it together, man.
We do. Alberta, we need to have the Alberta talk at some point. Something, all is not well in the Wildrose province. Did you see that they recently they're doing a big curriculum change?
No.
So they're doing a big curriculum. The UCP, a very fun political party, is doing a curriculum change for the K-6 education in Alberta, where that already has the thumbs up approval of local psychologist in Toronto, Dr. Jordan Peterson.
Oh, good.
That is getting rid of like all of the what they call educational fads, which is things like which seems to be like all of the changes that have been to the educational system about moving away from rote memorization towards critical thinking. And instead they're going towards a new education system where they're going back to the way that pretty much the way we went to school, where it was all focused on rote memorization. There was very little critical thinking involved whatsoever. And this results in like they've seen the curriculum, and it's like in 2nd grade they're teaching children about Charlemagne and like comparative world religions and like this kind of stuff. They're getting rid of things like discovery math, which was a way to teach math by showing its actual utility rather than just like memorize equation and then do it a bunch of times type things.
Good.
And apparently they didn't really consult any teachers on this curriculum change or anything. It's like, oh boy.
Yeah, that's
Alberta. Come on, buddy.
It's so unfortunate.
And you know, because our world, our major issue is that because everyone's got critical thinking down, and the real problem is that people don't have access to enough wrote information. If
Hmm.
only someone could invent a technology that could give you access to information around the world.
Yeah. No, I know. It's so terrible. Like yeah, we already learned so little critical thinking. Even I'm like in today's curriculum, right? Like I know school teachers who do a lot to bring that into the classroom, but like that's not in the curriculum, you know? So yeah, that's just absolutely ridiculous. I mean, it's definitely going to, I feel like that just serves like right-wing political politics, you know, because it's just like without critical thinking, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, definitely you're gonna stay conservative.
Matt, thank you for the super chat. What about the boost the BQ got in 2019? The boost the BQ got in 2019 was more like, if you, oh man, I don't, it's like, do I want to do Quebec politics again? Um, the Bloc Québécois did get a huge boost because there was a social democratic contingent in Quebec that did not like the fact that they were NDP voters who did not like the fact that the new leader wears a turban. And so they have reverted back to voting for a more nationalist candidate. But the BQ's like separatism agenda is very like, oh yeah, we're still totally behind that. Yay. Like they're
Mm,
it's very low energy. It's not like it's the early 90s all over again.
mm.
Which like man, there was a time in the early 90s where the Bloc Québécois was the official opposition. It's like holy crap.
Yeah, that's actually really funny to think about. But hey,
So it's in a different place right now. All right.
yeah.
Okay. So, um ooh, tough one. Where does the name Mexie come from?
Oh, it's a nickname that I had in high school. It's kind of ridiculous actually. Like my friends and I in grade 9, we were kind of weirdos and we had this like little group and we all had nicknames and mine was Mexie because everyone knew that I always wanted to have an X in my name for some reason. Um, so that's it. Not like a major story, but that's the name. And then I just stuck with it.
Like, I mean, you just like wrote like everybody who I know, even your like real life friends, call you Mexi. So it's
I
like
know.
the old
Yeah,
name is
it's gone.
yeah. Um, okay. Ooh, this pertains to our careers. Um, they're talking about poutine in the chat. Um, poutine is the most Quebecois thing because it has cheese curds, and if there's anything you know about Quebec, is that it's like
Oh, I
it.
was like, what are you saying?
Uh,
Put in. I was like, what? Yeah, yes, yes. Carry on.
Sorry, yeah, my wife is also like, "What are you talking about?" Um, I got corrected so many times when I lived in Quebec, so I just like can't unsay it. Um, First of all, Quebec is like got two industries: hydroelectric energy and milk, and so the fact that it's got tons of cheese curds is like okay, yeah. And that also it is a food designed specifically for people who are like shit faced at 4 in the morning. Also, like I can picture the place where this was invented in Montreal, just like
Wow.
oh, what's it called? Uh, the Ultimate Quebecois Restaurant is a place that only opens at 10 p.m. so that they don't get health inspectors and will be closed by next month. That serves exclusively food for drunk people.
Wow. Nice.
Patin means like it's patin is like a Joual word for like a mess. So,
Mm, that's so funny.
but this is the this is the main thing. Thoughts on labor in relation to the entertainment industry, like us. We're an entertainment industry.
I mean, it's just like gig economy stuff over here. I don't know about you, but like if you add up like all the labor that I actually do for all my content, like I'm making quite little. But yeah, I guess I don't really know what to say other than that. Um Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that I mean, I love doing this, but yeah, it is fairly precarious in this form of entertainment. I think a lot of people think that people on YouTube or whatever are making like a lot more money than they are.
Oh yeah. I will say though, like, I feel like, what are you doing? Okay. The cat is wanting attention. Um, is that you met her once?
Yeah.
So the thing I will say is that we kind of underestimate just how big a deal outside Patreon's been for everybody. Like I feel like that kind of thing to let you have that ability to budget yourself, even if it's a little amount of money, is so useful.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
so that keeps us going. But yeah, for the most part, like everything outside of Patreon's been like a major stabilizing force, but everything outside of it is just all over the place.
Yeah. Well, what do you mean by like ad? Like I heard like make anything on like ads or anything like that. So yeah, Patreon is wonderful to have that kind of like stable thing, but it's also like I don't know, it's also fairly precarious as well because I feel like I just feel because you just like lose patrons all the time. You don't know why you're losing them or whatever.
You just become like
And,
obsessed with watching the exit interviews or the exit
yeah, and
surveys.
you're like, what's happening? And I feel like if I don't produce as much, you know, quick enough, that I'm gonna lose patrons, and then I can't really afford that. And then a lot of times it's like it'll show. I don't know if this happens to you, but like on the first, it'll show like the whole month. It'll be like, oh, you have this many patrons and you're making this much money. And then like on the first, when everyone gets charged, it's like, oh, actually you have way less Patreons and you're making way less money for like a day. I guess it's kind of like sorting it out, but I think like people's cards decline or like whatever. So like it's also like you can't necessarily even count on the number that they say that you're supposed to be getting. So I don't know.
Yeah, but like also like yeah, Patreon can like vary by like tens of dollars, while I have had swings of like nearly $1,000 in revenue month to month because of like things like sponsorships and AdSense and other projects,
Cool.
positive leftist newses and
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I see. I've never had a sponsorship. I don't think anyone's gonna sponsor my channel. um,
oh boy. You'd be
but
surprised the fact that the things they let me get away with.
mhm.
I'm like, wait, what?
That's cool.
But yeah,
Yeah, I
it's
mean,
good.
like you are really critical in your videos or whatever. I just, yeah, I'm not sure people would look at my channel and be like, oh yeah, we need to get her to sponsor.
I have a
Um,
feeling it would be anti the channel's ethos to do it.
I don't honestly like if it was something like something that I actually use. Well, I guess it's like, you know, I'm against Amazon, but I actually use Audible because of my chronic illness. Like I do need that. So I'm like, well, that would make sense, you know. But I don't think they would ever want to sponsor my channel.
Yeah, my long term, like I'm always, my sponsorship thing is like I've turned down a lot of juicy offers because it's like I'm not going to promote anything that's first of all that I wouldn't use, and second of all that's not like in some way beneficial, even if it's just Japanese snacks. Like at least in some way it gets you something.
Yeah, for sure. Someone asked, didn't the tax thing hurt us? I haven't actually submitted my tax info yet. I don't know what's going on with that. I don't have a lot of time to like dedicate to this stuff. So like when things come up, I'm like, oh, what is this? Like I don't know what's going on. Um,
YouTuber taxes is very fun. It's not fun at all. Oh, Kylia sent a $10 super chat. Thank you very much. Loved your latest video, Mexie.
Thank you so much, Kylia. That's awesome. Love that.
It was a good one. I have to
Oh, thank
watch it
you.
again. I have to watch it with the skit and everything.
Oh yeah.
Because I
This
haven't
gets
watched it
good.
since I haven't watched it since I was working on it, and you added a skit to it, and I was like, oh, all right, I guess
Yeah.
this.
This gets very good from Ash. Yeah.
But yeah, YouTube or tax as a YouTuber is very fun. It's like, but it's I'm not making enough that I have to pay. I feel like it's only been easy on me at the moment because I don't make enough money that the government would come for me for tax money. I'm still at the income level where the government gives me money at tax season.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, like I'm not making a ton of money off of my Patreon, so but I did see, like, when I signed into YouTube, they were like, give me your tax information, and I don't know if they're gonna start taking, I don't understand what that's for. But
I think it's another case where YouTube wasn't listening to a law, and so because the US actually will tax income made in the US, so you have to pay Uncle Sam too. So you have to put your tax information in so that they can take away money from your AdSense to give it to the IRS, basically.
Oh, good. That's so annoying.
So we also have to fund wars in the Middle East too.
Great. That's great. Well, I mean, I make so little off of the AdSense, so it's not like
they're
only taking that much from me.
Kelly, also, I didn't know, I know this until I married an American. Did you know in the US and Eritrea are the only countries on earth that tax their expats?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they tax citizens who live in other countries, so Kelly still has to do American taxes.
What the hell? I thought that they were all against, like, taxation without representation, whatever, you know? Like, what's going on with that?
Only Canada and Eritrea are the countries that do it.
Wow.
And you know, being on the same.
I thought you said the U.S. and Eritrea. You say Canada?
Oh, sorry, U.S. and Eritrea. Yeah, sorry.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. That's so ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they hated. I thought that they were all about no taxation at all.
Oh my, we got a rating coming. Who's in? Lucid Fox. Oh boy, rating with a party of 320. There's so many of you. Holy cola. Hello, wave of people.
People, I can't see you because I'm on YouTube.
Yeah. So hello. I'm Tristan, and this is Mexie.
Hey.
She's popped into my stream to be a guest because I asked very nicely.
Yes.
Is that Boogie? No, it's not Boogie. I know my hair is getting into Boogie territory, but I'm not quite. It's not. So we were just talking about taxes, most fun and interesting of topics.
Yeah.
Who's the cutie on Tristan's lap? This is Phoebe. She really wants to chew on my headphone cable, and I'm trying to lay attention on her so that she doesn't do that. Because I don't like when she chews on my cable because I have to buy new headphones.
Mm-hmm.
I've gone through so many headphones because of this girl.
Oh. She's so sweet.
She is. All right. Oh, here's a good one. This is something that would be good for you to answer because you probably know way more about this. What's a good eco-socialist text? I identify as an eco-socialist, but would like to have some formal reading to back up my understanding.
I actually don't really know. I haven't really read much that's like eco-socialist, to be quite honest. I've just kind of like arrived there.
When's your book coming out then, Matt? Is that obviously the next step of that?
I guess so. I mean, I honestly can't. I don't know what I would. Yeah, someone said Bookshin. I haven't even read. Like I own The Ecology of Freedom, and I've like started it, but I haven't finished it yet because I've just been working so much. So to be honest, I haven't been doing a ton of reading on that. But I also I spoke to Haya Heller recently, and people were saying that her book was really great. What was her book? Let me just Google it quickly.
Thank you for the subscription, Lucid Fox, also. Wow, just giving me all the presents today.
What the hell?
And another subscription from What's Bothering Me Today. Well, Obviously, it's not us because you just subscribed. This is
Okay, so it's sorry.
it's my wonderful sense of humor.
The Ecology of Everyday Life. People said that was really good by Haya Heller. She also has Food, Farms, and Solidarity. That looks pretty good.
Thank you, Scarpa. Oh, here's what happened. Somebody gifted 5 tier 1 subscriptions. So Deep Dish Bard, great name. Thank you very much. Also, you recommend Braiding Sweetgrass a lot. I don't know if that has anything to do with eco-socialism, but I know that you really like that book.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend Braiding Sweetgrass. It's kind of eco-socialist, kind of like eco-gift economy, which is great.
Yeah, that's I feel like I've read it by proxy.
No, you haven't. You should really read it. It's fantastic.
I'll put on my list.
Yeah.
While we're on this kick, though, do you have any other braiding sweetgrasses? Some other faves that you think that would be a good recommendation for someone who's interested in environmentalism and socialism's interactions?
Well, I guess I read a lot, like for my work about I guess ecology and capitalism and how terrible capitalism is, so I can give some recommendations on that. But Robin Wall Kimmerer, who wrote Braiding Sweetgrass, also wrote Gathering Moss. So I think that's kind of in the same vein. Yeah, I'm not really too sure. I mean, I'm really into a lot of indigenous resurgence kind of stuff, because that kind of incorporates a lot of different things like decolonization and ecology and alternative social relations. So Leanne Simpson is really great. Yeah, I don't know. I honestly haven't been reading too much lately because I've been working so much, but yeah, I would say definitely Braiding Sweetgrass, and then the Haya Hella books that I just said.
Sounds good. I'd be very curious about some animal rights books, some stuff that's more on the leading edge of that kind of. Some of the talks that I hear on Vegan Vanguard are the ones that are the most this is conversations I've never heard before, is more the stuff when you're getting into the real deep animal rights stuff.
Yeah. Oh, well, I always recommend Afroism by Af and Sil Co. And Afco also wrote something called Racism as Zoological Witchcraft, which was fantastic. And then there's Beasts of Burden, looking at disability justice and animal rights. There's a whole bunch actually. I can look them up, but yeah, I always recommend those.
Sweet. All right. The next one. This is a good electoralism-y question. So this person's local police commissioner is coming up for election next year. Is it right to vote on who gets to do a job you think shouldn't exist?
I don't know. I mean, if you think that there's someone who could do less harm, maybe.
Go and vote for the person who seems they're the laziest.
Yeah, right. Yeah, or the most incompetent.
It might be interesting to actually run for jobs like sheriff of a county, and then be if elected, I promise to never do anything.
Yeah, and not arrest anyone.
Yeah.
Someone just said Warrior Life by Pam Palmater, and yeah, I just picked that up. I haven't read it yet, but I'm really excited about it. So yeah.
All right. Some stuff to get me a nice, refreshing and relaxing happy break from the book I'm reading right now, which is about 1.5 million people dying, which is great. What's it called? They can live in the desert, but nowhere else, by Ronald Sunni, and it's a book about the Armenian genocide.
Oh my God.
Because that's my next video.
Great.
Not the feel-good book of the year. Although I spent the first chapter getting like an overview of Ottoman history, and I was like, what? Okay. I'm distracting us. Okay. What do you think? Okay, this is a good one. So what are your thoughts on the unionization effort in Alabama and the political implications of it?
I mean, it's huge. It's so huge. I love that it's getting so much coverage and whatnot. Actually, didn't it just come to an end? The vote just came to an end, but it might take a few weeks.
Yeah, every ballot has to be put in a giant box individually with a whole bunch of those bubble things in it. So it's going to take a while for them to open them all up. And
yeah, so it could be a few weeks, but like huge stuff. God, I really hope they get it. That would be just very, very important and precedent setting.
That and the Uber decision in the UK, I feel like both of those can be like, however Uber works out paying their employees, which I know, novel concept. I'd be really interested to see like if that could be a model, like if all of a sudden like UK Uber drivers are actually like have jobs that work, then like it's like everyone else could be like, hey, I wish to do that.
Yeah, no, I know. I think, that's going to have some far-reaching implications for sure. But yeah, I just really, really hope they get it. I want some PLN this month from that. So fingers crossed.
The fact you can tell that like obviously it's close because Amazon is scared.
Oh yeah.
They sent their there's like those like last year those FC ambassadors or whatever that they sent out on Twitter that just like posted like these like weird pro Amazon tweets. They sent them out again, and they specifically were like, you don't actually believe the peeing in bottles thing, do you?
Yeah,
it's
saw
like,
that.
Wait, why are you making a big deal about this?
I know, that was so cringy. That was so ridiculous. Yeah, that was hilarious. But I mean, they're doing everything. Like they're paying off like local authorities to change the stoplights so that people can't hand out pro-union leaflets to people passing by in their cars. Like they're doing everything. They're encouraging people to just quit instead of go through with the union vote. So yeah, I mean, I don't know how close it is, but people say it's going to be close, but I hope that that the workers actually have the leg up, and that's why Amazon is so completely scared.
And don't give up on the South, everybody. Alabama is the unionization drive. And then the last big strike, if you remember, was like that West Virginia teacher strike. Just don't give up on them.
Exactly. Even Florida passed the $15 minimum wage.
Oh man, it's because like the people who live there, because of conservative economic or conservative politics, have like they got extra capitalism. So like they know like what's a better way to radicalize somebody against right to work than like living in a right to work state and having to deal with that stuff.
Yeah. No, exactly.
All right. We've got a question here. It says, do you have any thoughts on Buddhist economics?
I don't think I know much about Buddhist economics.
I don't even know if that's a thing. I don't know. Can you make an economics out of an ideology that's literally about the complete, or a religion that's based on the complete rejection of materiality as a concept?
Yeah. Like have nothing, give everything. That's the what kind of economics is that? I don't know. Interested to look into it.
Yeah. Yes. What's it called? What are the futures on the contemplation of non-existence today?
Yeah.
Do you have those fourth quarter returns? Well, no, because materiality is an illusion that brings us away from enlightenment. Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah. There is no self.
Yeah. Okay, so next we've got, this has been something that's been coming up. I don't know, this is like another sneaky, interesting political project going on in post-Brexit UK, which is the north of England had kind of started with this small independence party that's now been sort of gaining traction as sort of sort of like a rejection to the Labour Party of Keir Starmer. So, okay, Keir Starmer is the leader of the Labour Party, and he's sort of like represents this like rejection of Jeremy Corbyn and going back to sort of Blairite Labour politics.
Okay, all right.
And in sort of a rejection of that, the North, or the Northern UK, which is sort of like the more left-wing part of the UK, I guess, or at least the more working class part, it's where they used to mine coal, and now they don't. And now they do, question mark. Because we don't live in a society or something. Anyways, so now there's a Northern Independence Party that's like been gaining traction because they're like, well, obviously Labour's not going to do anything for us. It seeks to make Northern England, aka Northumbria, independent, and it's a democratic socialist party.
That's cool.
Yeah, as long as that is all of the information and we don't find out that they have some secret, like, horrible opinions, then, yep.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Of the things you said, they sound good.
Mm-hmm.
I do like this idea. I do find it interesting that there's this idea that the UK breaks off from Europe, and then its immediate next step is just the entire United Kingdom cracking apart.
Yeah. That would be pretty sweet. Wouldn't it?
I feel like the world has had enough of Great Britain, and let's have a less Great Britain. Mm-hmm. At some point, it'll just be London, and then
yeah, yeah, basically. Yeah, no, that's pretty cool. Hopefully, they gain more traction.
It'd be interesting to see what happens if the UK just becomes overwhelmed with like regional, because like Europe has so many regions. Like in Europe, you like have fundamental national differences with like people who live 3 blocks away from you. So just break it all into little pieces. It's fine.
Yeah. I know, it's so interesting because like just size wise, is that just like, is it even as big as Ontario? No, right?
Oh no, you could fit several United Kingdoms in Ontario.
Yeah. That's so funny.
I had some French exchange students that I went to school with, and we lived in Sherbrooke, and they went to Tadoussac to see the whales, which is like a 4-hour drive, and in the same province, even the same region of the same province. And they came back and they were like, like this thing would have been like, if we had lived in France, it'd be like, we're just going to drive to Poland for the weekend. Like this country is so unbelievably huge, and because we grew up in it, we don't really conceive of like how small things are.
Yeah, like me going camping on a weekend, it's like, yeah, I'll drive like 2 hours, or like going to visit friends like over by Ottawa-ish. I'm like, yeah, I'll drive like 4 hours to see them, So that's so funny. Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't Northumbria be fucked economically? I mean, maybe. I don't know what they have. But, if you, what's it called? If you're going to go through hardships, spreading the hardship out equally. I mean, I think somebody pointed out. Now I like this. This is the next idea, which is you break up the United Kingdom so it's nothing but London. And then these breakup countries reunify. And then you have like the United Kingdom, which is just everybody except for London. Mm-hmm. It's the reset. Mm-hmm. Well, so they can probably have like a soccer hooligan based economy or something. I don't know.
Soccer hooligan. Yeah. It's like cool though that I guess like the deindustrialization of the area is like radicalizing people, Mm-hmm.
I do wonder though, like, what do you do with a separatist movement that then the region it's in has no resources to build an economy off of?
True.
And that's a complex question, because usually when that happens, the answer is to take out extremely predatory development loans to build coding centers or whatever it is people do now. The problem is that we've run out of so many actual like economic things that we do. Like everything's been so service based now to the point where it's like What do countries even like? What economic activity even happens anymore? Nobody knows. I don't think there is an economy. I think the economy is done. We just forgot it was just done.
Yeah, yeah, it's been done for a while.
Like it's like one time, like when I was a kid and I was growing up, like my parents would be like, "Don't major in history because there's no jobs in it," and I was like, "Okay, whatever." Obviously, and now I'm like, if I were to meet like an 18-year-old and they had just graduated high school and they got A pluses in every single class, and they were like, "What should I go to university for if the only thing I want to do is have a stable career?" And I'd be at a loss. I'd be like, "I don't know of a single industry that actually would have that happen."
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, I guess just like business, but that's what everyone goes into because they're just like, oh, well, like business is going to always be relevant, you know? But it's just like, no, we're in the year of our Lord 2021. Like, why would you go into business?
Business is when you pay $30,000 for a Rolodex. Like it's about getting access to people who also went to the same school as you.
Yeah, basically.
I guess, yeah, engineering. Although the thing is, like, some of those jobs, like some of those like guaranteed high income careers, like engineering and computer programming, are also becoming harder and harder to come by because everybody's going into them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's the trick. Just become a tool and die maker. That's how you do it. We need a lot more people who are just like doing things like electricians and like that kind of stuff. And there's nothing wrong with it.
We need more podcasters.
It's true. You should definitely
don't
not
have enough podcasters.
If there's two people who should not be giving career advice, it's two people who have multiple advanced degrees and rely on social media for a section of their income.
Please donate to our Patreons.
We're glorified buskers at this point.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. What's this? How are you feeling, by the way?
All right.
All right. Just got another 15 minutes in you?
Yeah. That's about it.
All right. So there's a conservative commentator by the name of Benjamin Shapiro, who you might have heard of.
Oh, yes. I think I've heard someone mention him.
And there's a new law that got passed in Georgia that's like some of the most harsh voter suppression laws like in American history. Like it's like some of the most harsh it's the biggest voter suppression law since like the Jim Crow era. To the point where there's like people who have like they actually had to sign the bill in private with like armed guards because people were like trying to break in on the signing ceremony and stuff. And they kicked out a state representative who was protesting the event. Like they had like police kick her out of the actual government building that she works in. Wow. So it's really brutal. And one of the things, now this is super fun. One of the things that they have made is that now it is a crime, or it is you trying to tamper with elections to bring people food and water if they're standing in line to vote.
Tampering with elections?
Yeah. You're trying to influence the election by giving people water and food so that they can stand in line and vote. Because in America, you stand in line for like 8 hours to vote.
Wow. So you mean just like people selling food or water?
No, like sometimes like nonprofits and stuff like that who know that they want to have high voter turnout for progressive causes will, let's just give bottles of water to everybody standing in line because it's hot out or something like that.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So that's voter suppression.
But do they say anything like, "Oh, here's this water, consider voting this way," or whatever?
Well, that'd be one thing, but this is it's just now against the rules to give people water and food.
Wow.
It's such a thing. So Benjamin Shapiro pointed out, if long lines don't stop you from going to theme park rides, why should they stop you from voting?
I don't think you're waiting for 8 hours for a single ride.
No. But does that top, why don't you just sell your house if it's underwater?
Yeah, true. Yeah. Yeah.
Does
It's
that
just like
top
a
that or
theme
no?
park. Does that top that? It's close. It's close, but I don't it's pretty hard to frankly top the, you know, how do you why don't you just sell your underwater house? Um but yeah, no, that's so hilarious. It's like I mean, yeah, America is just like a giant theme park and everything is overpriced and you have to pay to do absolutely everything. Um but
I always like this came to mind once when so the condo that I used to live in was a polling station. So I recall, I think this was the election where I got to see Faith Goldie on an election on a ballot. That was fun. That was a good life affirming thing to see. But the day that I did that vote, I literally in like pajamas wandered out of my apartment, went up to like the 24th floor, and then just like nobody was there because it was like 9 a.m. and just threw in a ballot, and it took like 40 seconds, and I was like,
mhm.
it's like you can't do that in America because like in America it's like you wait in line for hours to vote,
Wow.
to the point
Yeah.
where like because they have a law where if they can't turn anybody away after the polls close if they're still in line.
Mhm.
And if you remember, like during like the Texas primaries and stuff like that, all of the campuses, all the college campuses, because they conspicuously got rid of a bunch of polling locations on college campuses for some reason, they actually had like people in line to like 2 or 3 in the morning to vote in the
Wow.
Texas primary. To the point where there was actually like a nonprofit set up, like an almost emergency nonprofit set up that you donated money to buy pizzas for people who were standing in line to vote on campuses,
Wow.
because it was obviously a way to try and suppress the Sanders vote. But
Yeah. No, absolutely. That's wild. Yeah, I don't think I've ever waited more than like 20 minutes. Like, and that would be like a long wait. Like, usually I would just walk in
mhm.
and there's like, it goes very quickly. Um, so that sucks.
They have a lot of things to vote for too. Like when we come in, we have like one thing, and they have to vote for like
Hmm.
everything, like mosquito control officers and coroners. And hey,
Hmm.
no,
Yeah. And like, I'm sure people aren't like, don't have all the information that they would need to make informed decisions about all of those things.
no, and that's why a lot of them they'll have a button that just says Democrat or Republican, and it'll just go all down or all the other.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a strange country.
Yeah.
As somebody who I've literally dedicated my life to studying to gawking at them for some reason. Phoebe,
Yeah,
stop.
well, they're so democratic.
I was like, I've never seen a democratic country that hated democracy more than that.
Yeah.
Like it's like a country that like is it started as a attempt at democracy, and then have done everything over time to just make it as little democratic as possible. And it's just like it's so strange.
Hmm.
That's why everyone loves
Yeah.
staring at you, America. You are one of the weirdest countries in the world.
Yeah. But like, yeah, just go away. Like I'd be fine to not stare.
If America was just a boring country that didn't just bounce between imperialism and atrocities and just was like a country, I would love to not think about it.
Hmm.
Okay. Do we have any more last minute questions? Oh, this could be a fun one. What's with all these leftists online mad at the squad? They seem to be mad that they haven't single-handedly done a revolution.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really know the obsession with it. Like, especially if leftists know, like, if leftists are against electoralism in general, then like, why spend so much time like criticizing, like, the squad? Um, yeah, I can't really say, to be honest. I don't really follow it, to be like, yeah, to be quite honest. I am like, luckily I've reduced my time on Twitter so thoroughly recently, and I want to like go even further. I'm actually just gonna like send messages to people that I want to talk to, and I'm like, why don't we just text, or like, why don't you come onto like Discord or something, because I don't want to be here,
I'm
because that's where it
down.
mostly happens. That's where it mostly happens.
I need to learn your ways of not using computers. That's my new It's my new thing I want to do this year.
Get chronically ill.
Well, if there's an alternative solution.
Work 2 other jobs that take up all your time.
I think.
And then you won't be on Twitter.
True. Oh boy.
Yeah. No, but it's great though. I'm so glad that I'm not there.
It's like we invented a machine that people can't help but stare at, but every time you stare at it, it just like, it's like Lovecraftian. Like, you know how in like Lovecraft they'd be like, there's this horrible creature that if you just to look upon it will like drive you insane or something. It's like Twitter's like this thing you can't help but look at, but every time you look at it, you progressively deteriorate in mental health.
Yes. Yeah. Your soul dies a little bit inside every single time. So, but yeah, I don't know what the fuss is about the squad. Like, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess it's good to like keep people accountable, but that's really not what a lot of people are doing. And also it's like, yeah, why would you expect, if you're against electoralism, like why would you expect this to be kind of like a really radical group of people who are gonna like really shake things up, you know?
Yeah, I think we're like I think we're at the point where there's a lot of people who have only tuned into politics and especially becoming left-wing instead of like liberals because of 2016, 2018, and 2020 elections. Like elections are what brought them around. And so this is their first taste of, oh, electing somebody doesn't fix problems, does it?
Yeah.
So if like, what's it called? There's a lot of people who like, they didn't even think that much about politics before 2016. And they're not weirdos like me who got into politics when I was like 13 years old.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. Because like I wasn't even like, I was on the internet, but I wasn't like on the internet until fairly recently, to be honest. Like I was political long before I ever got onto like Twitter or any of these kinds of things, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was just seeing today, like one of the more prominent Twitter communists, she was trying to explain her username, and it was just like, oh yeah, that's because in 2017, before I was into politics, I just like played video games full time, and that's my like, that's where my username comes from. But now I'm just doing communist stuff, and I was like, wait, 2017?
Yeah. But also it's like I forget half the time that I'm actually pretty old. Like a lot of people online are quite young. So I'm like, well, maybe in 2017 you were like 17, you know, like so I don't know.
Yeah, I guess 2016
or younger.
Yeah. Like these years for them was like what? Like I guess I just don't appreciate that like when I was 12 like an act of terrorism that was unprecedented in human history happened, followed up by 2 imperialist wars that made no sense at the time, and watching society like completely buy into it was enough to like turn me into a radical. But I realized that like if you were that age during the Obama years, you might not have gotten that kind of like dramatic introduction to how fucked up the world is.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah.
So it's like 2017. I've been an anarchist for 10 years. I've been an anarchist since 2008.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, like, yeah, I was political, but I wasn't like, I guess you definitely got into it earlier than I did. But,
I started with like anti-war stuff when in like 2002, 2003 when I was like a little kid.
Yeah, I was anti-war then as well, and I was like into like Adbusters and all the stuff that was like counterculture.
Something makes me think, yeah, you were like a little Naomi Klein. I get it. That makes sense. If there's ever going to be the successor for Naomi Klein, I think you've got it. Okay. So we're about to come to the end of this stream. And but before we break, for all the people who've come in, especially because of the Lucid Fox raid, can you tell people who you are and where all of your content can be found so that they may consume?
Sure. I am Mexie. You may find me on YouTube, Mexie, Mexie. I also have another channel called Positive Leftist News, or PLN, that you can find if you search it up. And I also have a podcast, Vegan Vanguard, which is veganvanguardpodcast.com, or you can get it anywhere you get your podcasts, like Apple Podcasts, Google Play, wherever else. And yeah, that is me. So thanks so much, Tristan, for having me on. Also, Tristan edits most of my videos, if not all of them.
It's a joy. I love doing it. And we're going to raid Lumiru next. So
cool.
Go say hello to them. And
Yeah.
I'll see you guys on Monday when I'm next here and things. Anyways, take care, friends.
Awesome. Take care.